the landowner, every time the county grades the road, the landowner don't run out and say, hey, county, you went 2 feet, you're grading over in my private property, get out. So it's been a give and take situation in our whole road system, and I think it's been a real problem. Actually, I don't see that the problem here. But the main point I want to make is, I don't believe that the addition of the porch on front of this building, I don't believe that it would be back in the county right away. And the only way you would do that is do an actual survey, which would be pretty extensive. But, you know, like I say, the porch was on this, and I assume that the county road system was set up probably after this building. And so my argument would be that even to put this 3-foot porch back on the front still wouldn't be in the county right away.
I think I might be able to respond to, okay, just hand me some, to both Supervisor Pinches and Colfax, say who's minding the store, you know, what's going on. Typically, the county staff accepts an application at its face value, that the applicant is representing, you know, what they're going to do. And if they submit an application that says they're doing a project on their property, the assumption is it's on their property. You know, whether the planning and building department maybe should have looked for where that boundary is. Supervisor Colfax makes the point of, well, what if somebody builds something out into the right of way? I think when county staff sees things that are obviously into the county right of way, we start an action. We usually go up and talk to the people. What are you doing? What are you building? You know, and then we actually put that back on them to show where their lines are. It turns out that people have gone out and found the survey markers since then, Supervisor Pinches, and they've discovered that, yes, this 1 foot 7 inches, whatever was said, I can't remember, is the case. The point being, though, to Supervisor Colfax, is the county doesn't go out and perform a survey. We pretty much take an application, and if it's close, you know, the casual observer wouldn't notice 1 foot 7 inches, you know, we just presume that it's that way. Like I said, when we get an encroachment permit application, we usually like a little more detail than that. When we get a commercial application for an improvement of a use, we ask for proper site plans, which I didn't see in any of the submittal package, and that's how we check it. That's how we're responsible, to get back to Supervisor Colfax, to protect the public interest and, you know, to, like I said, we understand sometimes the county needs to provide the ingress and egress to the right-of-way that is a necessity of the party applying, but we typically need the information to make those kinds of decisions. And all this has come out after, you know, in pieces. No one knew at the beginning why the building was built the 1 foot 7 inches over. You know, it just wasn't disclosed. I don't know if that answers it, but.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add to that.
Please.
I was not involved with this, but I could imagine what had happened is when the application came in to put the foundation under the structure, it was going to be put in the place of the existing structure wherever it lied, and we'd let that go without going into where the property lied in relation to a property line or a county right-of-way. So the foundation went in. Now now we know it's an issue. They're going to come in. If the stairway is going to be more than, I think it's a deck is above 30 inches, requires a building permit. If it's above 30 inches, then you could get into ADA stuff. I don't know. All the potential issues that will come about also could get into, they need a variance. If it's going to encroach into a county right-of-way, they technically could apply for a variance. The county could still say yes or no to that. The issue in front of you is an appeal of the MHRB's decision that they found this improvement to be consistent with the historic character of the town, and that's it.
Thanks for putting us back on track, Frank.
Thank you. Supervisor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. DeShield, looking at a memorandum that you sent to Department of Planning and Building staff, Fort Bragg, dated June 4th, and you're listing 7 reasons here that you object to this permit application. Okay. Just wanting to make sure that you still concur that you believe that this project is in the county right-of-way.
Yes, I do. And
Okay.
part of when I wrote that permit, again, I didn't have an accurate site plan, so it was hard to know what the extent of the encroachment was.
But that is your position?
Right.
That it is in the county right away. You mentioned a number of health and safety issues here that you feel that this project would interfere with. One is with road maintenance, the other's with utility and other public purpose installations. The one I find the most significant, however, is probably number 4, although there are a number of them. These steps and porch have the potential to push pedestrian traffic into the traveled way, creating a safety hazard. Okay. Now, to me, that is not disputable. That's the only thing that it can do, because you're creating an additional structure that if you're walking on that street and you're trying to stick as close to structures and the dirt pathway on the side as possible, you're not going to be able to wherever you have these encroachments. And of course there are, as people have stated, a number of them. But you're obviously going to have to walk around those platforms or steps if you're trying to keep to the path, because they're going to be, again, as you said, they're going to be in the county right away. Do you have any additional comments regarding that memorandum?
Well, that brings up a good point. That memorandum was written in a very general sense, but when we look at the public right-of-way, we do forget about the fact that it's more than just for cars. There's utilities, they're underground, above ground, there's pedestrian, there's bicycle, there's a lot of other uses going on. And sometimes someone might look at that, 6 or 8 feet off the edge of the road and think, well, that's really not being used for anything. I'll do this, that, and the other. And oftentimes, let's say a new water line is needed or some other utility at some point, if we allow the right-of-ways to become filled with encroachments, then that can be a real impediment to, future public benefit, for the whole public, which is really our charge. Again, by issuing permits and having an agreement in place, an encroachment permit, we can make it clear to the owner that that's their encroachment, they have to maintain it, and if it needs to be moved, say to install a utility, that they'll do that at their expense. It's sort of a general memo that talks about really all the things we're concerned about, and not diminishing the public's right to that common area, that right of way, for a multitude of uses that could be present or future. We've got to think about those things. And certainly if a car is pushed out closer to the travel way because there's something there, then you're right. People have to walk around that and navigate it. That's true.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions of staff, of the applicant, of the appellant, and/or comments from the public? Supervisor.
One thing that I do want to add here is, or ask the question, and that is that now you have put into a memo your concerns, and we are aware of those. If we get some hotshot